why is this thing getting so much hype? Honestly, it's simple. The phone has a few key things. It has a Snapdragon 845 chip, it has 6 gigs of RAM, and it's packing a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. Honestly, at the base level, this phone takes the strategy of copying a lot of the best things from other phones and does it well. Now, a lot green of the Poco phone, it's a perfect example of this. It's a 6.2-inch LCD display, 2246 by 1080, and for a $300 phone, it's pretty impressive. Of course, it resembles the display of a much higher-end phone like the $1,000 iPhone 10, or I'm gonna compare it to the $500 OnePlus 6 because, let's be real, that's what everyone's comparing. Closely, the bezels all the way around they're thicker and they don't coat over those sensors up in the top notch to hide them the way the iPhone does so well. And just generally, the curved corners here are a bit much for me. Like, that is a lot of curve that feels like you're starting to lose real screen space. And it's even more obvious up top with the notifications and the time and things like that. So again, it resembles some high-end, like we said, but it literally cuts some corners. The thing is, a lot of that stuff just kind of fades away into the background when you're actually using the phone, so it's a good corner to cut when you're just looking at the screen anyway. Build quality, for example, it's 8.8 millimeters thick, but it doesn't feel like one of the thicker phones since it's tapered. The buttons are well placed and they're clicky, and the back is polycarbonate, which is basically another word for hardened plastic. And it's like a slight matte finish, a sort of a satin, just enough to not actually get that many fingerprints. And it comes with just people love that headline that this is a $300 phone. They're also looking at a version of a sort of a Kevlar/graphite looking material. That version of this phone is not $300, but it is pretty nice. You got chamfered edges all the way around, the fingerprint reader is in the correct place, the speaker grill for the stereo speakers and USB-C are at the bottom, and up top there's this old school port you might not recognize. It's called basically not a whole lot of hardware trade-offs, to be honest. Now obviously, most flagships coming out in the last year have had that glass back. Not even really because of looks, but it does feel more premium and more dense. But polycarbonate, this is perfect for the price. There's no wireless charging in this phone, and also no need to go with expensive, fragile glass when a signal passes perfectly through plastic anyway, and it's way more durable. And then the specs. Of course, that's what got us here in the first place, and this is actually where that little "by Xiaomi" at the back of the phone comes into play. Technically, Poco Phone can be looked at as a new brand, but it's part of Xiaomi, and that's how they can afford to get these parts that they put in other Xiaomi phones. The infrastructure is already there to even subsidize it a little bit. Snapdragon 845, 6 gigs of RAM. It's liquid-cooled. It's about as liquid-cooled as any other 2018 smartphone, though. I wouldn't say this is a huge standout feature. And performance is all good. This is running the latest version of Xiaomi's skin, MIUI 10. That's just how I say it. And I've actually found it not bad. If I'm honest, I really didn't like that many other previous versions of MIUI, but this one is making a lot more choices that I like. The theme is clean, they give you an app drawer by default, and there's plenty of little useful features that I found thoughtful and well placed instead of just cramming things in, you know? Like, this is the first time I can say I could probably see myself using a Xiaomi phone every day, and that's saying a lot. And there's also some quite unique things. I like the subtle little blur when you bring the notification shade down. The placement of the brightness slider one swipe away instead of two is nice. The battery info being one click away every time you plug it in. It's good. 1,000 milliamp hour battery. It has proved to be great. Easily a full day phone. Not a 2-day phone, but again, it's great. No wireless charging, like I said, but it also does have fast charging. And then the camera. The camera is usually where we see a pretty big drop off on budget phones. I would say this is still the case here, but on the surface, it's dual cameras, primary one being a 12 megapixel with an f1.9 aperture. It appears soft. That's the most common thing. But if you give it a lot of light, you can get decent results. The color science is pretty good. The color shifting is not bad at all. There's not a ton of dynamic range, but it gets the job done. It's not a problem camera at all. It obviously fits in great as a camera, and a lot of the looks of the premium phones as well. The notch, the big display, the below average camera quality, but not a huge deal. It's an IPS display instead of OLED, a thicker bezel all the way around, and a real chin, and a toss-up of whether you'll like Xiaomi's skin or not. Plus the weird quirk of lacking the DRM to play back HD video in certain apps like Netflix or Amazon that can't be fixed with a software update, although it does still work full HD for YouTube, which I care.